Heatherton Black arrived in Surf City around the same time as five other families with carts and covered wagons so much larger than his own. They all came as homesteaders to conquer the shore and build their fortunes. Of those six families, three children each survived, and so it was, for a few generations at least. Over time, the children of the founders and their descendants thereof left until only five representatives of the founding of Surf City remain. Of course, this is not unique to Surf City. It is not as it always was for humans, where they would stay in one place their whole life, and it was only the unique ones who traveled. The cosmic, of course, would want you, dear listener, to be reminded of this. Movement and momentum are important for our charges. Currently, the oldest son of the heir of the Black fortune runs a donut shop. He comes by honestly, as Heatherton Black's trade was in wheat, breads, and the occasional apothecary madness. Ben Black wakes up at 3 a.m. to make donuts. He opens his eyes to the same ceiling he lived under as a child, though the bed is much bigger now. And if he is lucky, he doesn't wake up alone, but of course his current lover does not arise with him at 3 a.m., unless they've stayed up all night. To describe Ben Black is to describe a solid force, an immovable object. He doesn't believe in the supernatural, more because it hasn't personally affected him rather than as an objective fact. He believes in donuts, paying bills, and supporting community events. What he doesn't know is that all of this is by design. Now, listeners, if you look at the care file for Ben Black, you will see he retains the curled, messy hair of his ancestor, this no nonsense approach to the use of oil and fire, and the necklace. This necklace is a token of the family, but it means so much more. Ben Black is solid, yet ambitious, in a way neither his father nor grandfather was. He hired his brother Edgar to be the delivery driver for Surf City Donuts and even commissioned a local mural artist to paint the recommissioned ice cream truck stylized for delivery in the colors of the sunset, pinks and yellows and oranges. Of course, Edgar is another matter altogether. The problem for Edgar is the problem that most of the descendants of the founding families found: disgrace, ruin, boredom. Edgar is unlucky. He feels trapped. He feels that, save for circumstance, he could have easily stood on his own 2 feet as a boxer or military strongman, something physical. The desire and the power course through his veins, but sadly, his arms won't seem to cooperate. There is something oddly muscular yet delicate about him. And so Edgar, though he drives the delivery van, cannot drive it out of town. It brings him great anger and distress, which he dulls with VR. VR, dear listeners, stands for vampire runoff. And if vampire runoff were a drug classified by a government entity, it would likely be a Schedule 2 with Schedule 1 implications. Usually it is injected. Rarely is it used to douse tobacco and rolled in loose leaf cigarettes as Edgar Black enjoys. But he does. Edgar's current dealer in VR, of which there have been many since more than a few simply disappear never to be heard from again, is a man called Rage. Rage has a cut along his brow from a porcelain plate thrown his very direction. Rage has a cold sort of anger to the world, and he fills his time selling things like VR to customers and enjoying the product with them. Within a year, Rage will be dead, if he's lucky, that is. But if he's unlucky, dear listeners, it will likely be because of trouble, which I am unfortunate to mention has a bulletin for me to read as well. Trouble wants you to know that if you're having trouble with your elderly charges because of drug commercials and incomprehensibly named medications, they intended that. and it is their strong belief that it is folly for anyone to actually be the age they are. Our story continues. Rage is no gentleman to Edgar. They have an agreement while under the spell of VR that neither will command the other to do any particular deed, but often they press each other up against the alleyway walls of Surf City and cop generous feels in the shadow. Neither of them mind, but both are aware of the hyper suggestive nature of VR and must set a limit, a gentleman's agreement. Edgar is the second living descendant of Surf City, but doesn't really know that rage is a penalty, an albatross, a seduction. There are many things Edgar does not know. Just as there are many things that Ben does not know about his younger brother. Well, he does worry for Edgar and has intentions of one day talking with him, rekindling a brotherly bond of friendship and a closeness they'd had before the VR became the center maelstrom of Edgar's life, before everything for Ben was day to day business. But Ben's life is intertwined with Surf City Donuts. It is intertwined with the name Black. It is a rope around his arms, tie and twist his limbs to his body in a way that encases him. His only real joy in love, in life, and in freedom, to say, comes from his lover, truest Taffets. Whereas Ben Black does not believe nor disbelieve in the supernatural, truest Taffet is a dreamer of it, an idolater. He'll see the Loch Ness monster while out surfing. He'll attempt to catch Bigfoot and unironically attend UFO sighting parties. Truest Taffet is light and loud and beautiful, and Ben loves him, though he has not said those words quite yet. But you can tell in the way they communicate via their short range text messaging devices, the way the bings and taps bring at least Ben a great joy. Now, Ben has always decreed a no phones at work policy for his temporary counter staff, but at 3 p.m., when Edgar doesn't return from a delivery promptly and he's left to his own devices, along with marshmallow and powdered sugar to make homemade fondant, he sings and whistles and voice to texts while his surfing boyfriend Truist surfs and enjoys the water and the air. Text messages read like thus. Bing! Have you given any thought to the idea of sea monsters recently? I mean, really given them any thought? Bing! No, no, I haven't. Why? Are you out surfing and you felt something grab at your feet? Something that should be in a lagoon instead? Bing! In this weather? I'm skirting hypothermia myself out here, but working very hard. I will not lose my toes. They are too adorable to sacrifice. You have cute toes? Have you not noticed my toes? You are a bad boyfriend. Bing! I'm a great boyfriend. What are you talking about? Bing! What are you doing right now? Donuts, music, nothing involving sea monsters. Ben would reply. And finally, because he likes the last word, Truist replies thus: If there were sea monsters, you would tell me, right? Wink, emoticon. The bings continue back and forth, occasionally interrupted by Motown lyrics on the radio. The Surf City kitchen is filled with life as long as Ben is there to lead it. And sure, the appliances are only updated once a decade or so, but the terracotta flooring is the history of Surf City Donuts. It's stuffed orange and pale reds, and remains as it did for his father. His father's portrait also hangs in the ancestral Black family home. It is not a castle, though it is quite grand, and for Ben and Edgar, it is a monument, a living mausoleum where they sleep, a tribute to souls they've never met but whose blood courses through their veins. Every now and then, late at night, Ben thinks he might feel their gaze on them as he goes for a light midnight snack, but he tells himself that it's just the shadows. And melon peach granada sorbet is more than worth the trouble of potential ghosts. In fact, it is on such an evening that our real story begins, dear listener. It is not so late as to inspire ghosts, but it is a day when the hard work has been done and all Ben wants to do is to slip into a t-shirt with a cartoon cat eating lasagna on it. You remember the one, and have a bit of pasta and a bit of Truist. He thinks of Truist in that body-hugging wetsuit, daydreams the slow move of a zipper, the reveal of a shoulder blade, and that small interesting tattoo that Truist swears he doesn't remember the meaning of. The way his fingers slide over. But the kitchen doorbell rings and arrests his attention as the water boils for the pasta and breaks him from his reverie. Now he's sure it's Edgar coming home, or it's Truist. Not many people care to use the back door, the kitchen door, so far from the front. He's startled to find Mace standing there. Mace, he says, he's barely able to suppress the gas. Tune in next time for the continuing saga of the Black family in Surf City. Find out if Rage survives another day, if the Loch Ness Monster really does come to their shore, and just who is Mace, who stands at the kitchen door. Surf City is an audio work of John McDonald and John McDonald Productions. It is meant for entertainment purposes only and is not meant to advise anyone on lifestyle, health, or spiritual philosophical issues of their or any time. All opinions expressed are held by the characters, and in some cases, the creator of Surf City and Surf City Donuts, John McDonald. Thank you for listening.